All right, welcome to the Journey to Paid Speaking Gigs podcast. I have today Vince Poscente on with us today. Vince, welcome to the show.
Charles, good to be with you.
Yeah, man. So, hey, just let the Thrive Tribe know a little bit about who you are and how did you get on this journey of actually impacting people's lives, going on a stage and getting paid to do what you love.
Well, it's funny. The first thing that came to mind was I was asked to moderate the Christmas play in kindergarten, and I couldn't even read. So I wasn't following a script. So God only knows what that ended up sounding like.
Yeah.
But I remember being on stage as the valedictorian for a high school. And I wanted this speech to be something that had impact, that people would go, oh my gosh, this is such a massive benefit to them, and that there would be something that would really resonate. And I did the best I could. But at the end, I got a 2,600 person standing ovation. I went, wait a minute, there's something here. There's something that about this. I call them soul taps, right? You get a
Yeah.
soul tap, and you must know what I'm talking about, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're following this passion for your tribe, and including everybody on this journey to say, if you got that soul tap, if you got that, which really means just pay attention, and that standing ovation back in high school led to. I'll skip ahead as at 26 I started ski racing,
Hmm.
and at 30 I was in the Olympic Games. And I was starting to think, wait, if I win the gold medal in the Olympic Games, I could be a speaker, right?
Mm.
And another soul tap. Geez, I'm going all over the place. But I was about 14 years old, and I saw premier of our province, Peter Lougheed. I'm from Canada, Alberta. And he gave a speech to 5,000 people, and it was moving, and it was impactful and full of influence. And I just went, that's it. I want to be a politician. But it was in the Olympics that I thought, wait, my exit strategy could be win the gold medal, be a speaker. Well, I didn't win in the Olympic Games.
Mm.
But the fact is, Charles, a good idea won't go away. And
Yeah.
so, and I will say this as well. If someone is driven by getting the attention or being the focus of attention, that is a misdirected soul tap. That's a like, if you need attention, I don't know if
Yeah.
being a professional and paid speaker is the best avenue for you, because really our job is to have impact and influence.
Yeah.
And if you can do both those things, if you can have impact and you can have influence, then we're like the Boy Scouts say, we're leaving the campsite better than we found it. So
Mm. Yeah.
that 18 months after the Olympic Games, a group had their speaker had canceled. I was asked to give a speech to, I guess, about 90 people. 4 people came up after, individually, separately, and said, "You got to do this. You know, you got to do this for a living, right?"
Mm.
So a good idea won't go away, and other people can see that good idea sometimes when you go, "No, no, no." I kept thinking, well, I didn't win the gold medal, right?
Right. Right.
Well, I'm in the Hall of Fame for speakers in Canada and the Hall of Fame for speakers in the United States, with the likes of Zig Ziglar and Og Mandino and Jim Rohn and even Ronald Reagan. I mean, the
Yeah.
great communicator. So, you know, a good idea won't go away. So pursue
Yeah.
that.
I think it's so fascinating. I think we have similar stories of thinking that we need certain things in order to be validated, right? In order to feel like I got something to say now because I did this. And I think
Uh,
a lot of people need to understand that what you have to say is good enough for where you are right now, right?
yeah, yeah, and I think we are no different as speakers than we are entrepreneurs, and an entrepreneur sees a need, right, and says,
Yeah.
"Wait, I can fulfill that need. This is something that is out there that is not being fulfilled." Now, if you're giving speeches, not saying you, Charles, but any of our tribe, anybody that has uh, this idea that they want to be paid to speak,
Hmm.
if you're saying the same thing that everybody else is saying, you're not filling a need. You might be filling your own need,
Mm.
but to really meet where there are ways to to talk about something like, let's say you have your past is one of persistence, right? You never give up. Well, if you said, hey guys, in your speech, never give up, then everybody's going to go, all right, Sherlock, I think I got that one.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you said something like, the first thing you got to do is give up. The first thing you have to do is step back, give up, step back, and assess the situation. You cannot persist without first giving up. Then they're going to go, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's saying there's nothing new under the sun, but you can phrase things and frame it in a way that has people activate their imagination, and that they are influenced and they are impacted in a way that it enriches their lives and they take action.
Yeah, getting them to think differently. What was
Mhm.
what was the thing that person said to you, that Club Scout, Boy Scout, or was it something that they said that allowed you to say, "Yo, like this is definitely something that I'm gifted in. This is definitely something I need to continue to pursue."
Yeah. Let me go back to when I was 26 years old to answer that question.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd never ski raced before, right? I had raced in luge for a couple of years, but quit. And we are often motivated by discomfort. And, fear is temporary, regrets last forever. So, this sting of regret of not stepping in and not engaging in the sport of luge was a regret that I had. So, I stepped in with speed skiing and then ended up being in the Olympics.
Mm.
And so I'd already learned kind of the lesson. Wait, if you don't engage, you're going to have regrets. And I hated that feeling. Like regrets are just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I never want regrets again. And so that was part of it. Like I didn't win the gold medal. The phone wasn't ringing off the hook. Hey, could you tell us how you lost in the Olympic Games?
Yeah,
But no, I
yeah.
framed it differently. I
Yeah.
put it in a very innovative package. Plus, I looked at the industry as very, very competitive.
Mm.
And one of the things that worked really well is a philosophy, because we all run around trying to do what the competition's not doing, saying things where the others aren't saying,
Yeah.
being unique in how we present. But the mindset that I find in a competitive landscape that works really well is to do what the competition is not willing to do,
Yeah.
right? So, and when I was ski racing, I realized my competition wasn't local, although I was racing in local races, and it wasn't national, although in order to compete for the Canadian Olympic team, you had to be on the national team. I never thought of my competition as national. I never thought of them as international.
Hmm.
At the time, I knew the Olympic qualifying standards were top 16 in the world. So the idea here was to identify who the top performers, the highest performers are, and do what they're not willing to do.
Yeah.
So the top 16 racers in the world, I had to do what they're not willing to do. Well, they had a 20-year head start. So how do you do what they're not doing? You can't. But you can do what the competition is not willing to do. And that was a distinct advantage as well. So
Mm.
was there any one person? No. It was maybe that voice inside the head was saying, well, this isn't possible. You didn't win the gold medal. You
Yeah.
don't, you're 30 some odd years old when I started speaking, 30, 34, I guess.
Yeah.
Speaking professionally, I mean, and professionally, I mean, getting a chicken dinner, maybe $500 here or there, it was anytime, anywhere, any price was the
Mm.
philosophy at the beginning. It's just anytime, anywhere, any price. And you get better. And there's no
Right.
better example than stand-up comedians, right?
Yeah.
They can write material all day long, but they
Yeah.
don't get better unless they're in front of people, right?
Mm. Yes.
So
True. I
same with
say,
speaking.
yeah, I say the more you speak, the more you get paid, even if you're doing it for free, because you're polishing yourself, not to agree to like be perfect, but I'm getting a little feedback, but that's okay. um, let me see here. You got headphones? Maybe we can try that.
Do I have headphones?
Yeah, I'm getting a
Um,
little
I don't
feedback.
know, not really. I wonder how I could do headphones for you.
Mm. Sorry about that.
You're getting feedback from me, my end?
So typically that's how it happens. Like sometimes it works really well when the other person doesn't have their headphones.
Hmm. Let's see if these work.
Check, check.
I haven't charged these for a while. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Put them in here.
Check, check.
Okay, check, mic check.
Check, check. Yeah, it solved it. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So where was I was okay, so I was saying it's okay, we're gonna clean it up. Let's see. Yeah, so I definitely agree with you. You know, it's I believe that the more you speak, the more you get paid, right? Meaning like the more you do it, the better you get. You get polished, you get to work on different parts of your speaking that you might not be well in. So I definitely agree with you with that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's kind of like talk about, COVID. uh I
What?
believe
What are you talking about? Pandemic?
right. So I
Never heard
believe
of it.
like so much happened right during last year, 365 days ago, and yeah, maybe a little bit even more. But I think the speaking industry was completely changed, the face of how we do business. What was going through your mind when all of that happened?
Well, I've been through a few downturns in the economy, and my speaking business has been directly impacted. And COVID annihilated 95% of my calendar. I mean, that was how I made my living. And then I didn't. And so, but how I reacted was this time was not to panic.
Hmm.
And I immediately started pushing out value. I mean, I've written 7 books, so I've got material, I've got content, and I started pushing out these breakthrough videos. In fact, for the first, I don't know, a few months, I call them COVID campers. I'd say, hey, COVID campers. And they were always less than 2 minutes. We talk about what was a thing they could work on,
Yeah.
cognitive bias, repetition bias, blind spot bias, things that would be informative, have impact and influence. And I thought the pandemic would probably last about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I had decided to put out a video every day for those 3 weeks, and then 5 weeks, and then 8 weeks. And then I was like, 250 videos later, I
Mm.
eventually changed it from COVID campers because after the lock-in, if you will, in the US was less of a thing. I call them breakthrough videos. And so pushing out value is the answer to your question. I immediately started giving value anytime, anywhere, any price. Just give value. If you're good at something, if you have a message, then give value. And somebody steps up. Somebody says, hey, could you do this over here? Could you help us with our company?
Yeah.
And that just is that's how it works.
I'm kind of questioned with this the idea. Do you think that how we handled COVID should have been how we handled our business all along?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't change until we're uncomfortable, right?
Mm,
And so we definitely had to change.
yeah.
And there's one thing that I've been putting off and putting off and putting off, and I created this program, this learning distance learning program called
Mhm.
Find Your Buzz. Right, that book you see over my shoulder. This shoulder here is to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
able to. Why am I unable to point in the right direction? But that book is called The Ant and the Elephant. And The Ant and the Elephant, LeBron James has quoted it in Sports Illustrated. It's
Mm,
been used by FedEx as a leadership tool. And I had the time, I
mm,
deconstructed the book, turned it into a learning platform, and did these virtual lunch and learns.
yeah.
And the people have been taking this Find Your Buzz program as their heads are blowing up because they're just going, this is awesome. Like it's
Yeah.
instead of an educational transaction, which this could be, our
Mm,
interview, and your tribe might be going, okay, I get it, or whatever. But when something is transformational,
Yeah.
then somebody is fundamentally shifted. And then you no longer get the credit, by the way, because
Mm.
they forget why they transformed or
Right.
how. It's just now who they are and what they've, and that's why we're on this planet. If we're going to have impact and influence, seek that transformational experience for your audience member, and
Mm.
then you're in that sweet spot.
Mm.
So that's the answer to your question. That was one thing that I stepped into in
Yeah.
giving virtual keynotes. I'm good at it, and I don't want to do them forever because
I
there's
feel you
such
on
a
that.
void. Oh my God, it's I don't even know. I could go on about how much I don't like it, but
Yeah, it's just like a season of it, right? It's like, yo, I definitely prefer to be on the stage and in front of people, impacting their lives, like feeling that energy in the room. There's nothing like that, you know.
yeah,
But I guess this will do for now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It sharpens your skills, though, doesn't it?
Definitely like the ability to be authentic when there's no feedback, you
Right,
know.
right. Yeah,
That has been the challenge, like, and for
yeah.
me, especially starting out during COVID, like, yo, how do I like feel the energy and still give my best?
Right.
And now it taught me to be the energy before someone gives it to me, right?
Mm, yeah.
And so like
Mhm.
that's just been the way I process it. But I definitely can't
Yeah.
wait. It's gonna be like a Super Bowl, when I get back into the arena, or the auditorium conferences. I think the biggest one I have coming up is going to be in October, and that's going to be, I think, about 10,000 people or so. And I'm like, yo, I can't wait for this moment right here. So, what's one speaker that you respect, and one question that you would ask him or her?
Uh, I can't remember his name, but he wrote a book called Carpe Diem. He was a pastor out of Philadelphia.
Mm,
Oh, what's his name? You might want to look it up, but uh, he said something on stage that I'd like to explore more. And he
mhm.
said, we all want our kids to be what? And everybody goes, happy. And he says, yeah, you could take a pill and be happy. It's more than being happy, it's about being fulfilled.
Mm,
And Anthony, his name is Anthony something. Shoot. Anyway, I'm not picking anybody famous.
yeah.
I've been around some of the most prominent speakers and have had some negative experiences, right? It
Right.
was really, truly, I won't say his or her name, but I will say this, that I was on a speaking tour with this person, and they couldn't be more ego driven
Mm,
and and rude. I
mm,
mean,
yeah.
I was with an icon. I was, hoping that at some point we could chat, and this person was treating me like a pimple on his ass. I mean, it was
Ooh.
like, God, yeah. I mean, I was, wait, that's graphic, isn't it? But anyway, and no,
Was it ready? Was it ready to pop? Like type of.
let's go into detail. No, now, and that those kind of experiences are gifts, aren't they?
Yeah.
You go, oh, note to self, I never want to do that. I
Mm.
never want to be that way. So we can learn from anybody even when they're not in teaching mode. Yeah.
Right, right.
So,
I
yeah.
think that's a big thing for my life. I learned from the mistakes of other people, and that was the thing that allowed me to see what I wanted to be in life. You know,
Uh-huh.
those things that they did wrong, I wanted to do the opposite of that. And so yeah, I can definitely relate to that.
Hmm.
I think we can
Hmm.
turn any tragedy to something of a magnificent design. It's all about perspective, as we know, with resilience and being able to be strong, right? It's learning to turn that situation into something that can completely change your life. So I just
Yeah,
find it, yeah.
Let me add one thing on the topic of resilience, because I've been thinking about that actually. It's
Yeah.
almost a trigger word in a way for me, because resilience without clarity is stubborn ignorance,
Yeah. Yeah.
meaning you can be resilient, persistent, just drive and go forward. But clarity is such an essential part of why you're resilient. And it's beyond the why, it's this connection, this emotional buzz that you get from this kind of path of resilience. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to add that, because whether it's negative or positive, like you said, it still adds to the clarity. And
Mhm.
then this resilience is just bulletproof, right? You
Mhm.
just, if you're so clear on what it is that you are meant to be on this planet, right? If
Yeah.
you're so, and if you don't have that, of course, staying in line, because there's a ton of us who still don't know what
Mhm.
exactly we want to do. But this clarity is pulling things into focus. Before we started this recording, we were working on clarity because it just wasn't quite there on the
Yeah.
screen, and so we tweaked it, didn't we? You
Right.
tweak it, and then it's like, okay, we got clarity now. Same in life,
Yeah.
same.
Mm. So true. So true. I think just to add one more thing to it is
Yeah.
I think that the thing that I've been learning about being resilient or perseverance is that perseverance isn't about pushing, like just automatically, I'm just going to push through this thing. But it's about being meticulous, right? It's about being able to reflect and connect. And let me just put this in perspective for you guys that's listening. You know that you're called to speak. You know that there's something that you want to do. And if you've been getting it wrong, maybe you've been sending out those emails wrong, or you trying to figure out the right way to do things. The best way that you can do that is reflect and connect. Figure out what's not working, right? And if you don't know all the answers, the best thing that I would say is the next step is to be amongst a tribe, right? When you know, when you understand what it takes, then I think when you get around a tribe, you understand what it takes, right? It's just like when you're in the Olympics, right? Like I just can't be great by myself. It takes a tribe of people to get there. So, in all
Mhm.
of this,
Mhm.
perseverance isn't always about doing it by yourself and just trying to be strong on your own. But sometimes it's about reflecting and connecting and being a part of a community that's going to help you get there.
Yeah. Yeah, and Charles, I'll add one other word to that, and that's authenticity. You brought that up earlier.
Yeah.
Uh, my wife used to own International Speakers Bureau, right? They were the top 5 speaker bureaus in the U.S., if not
Mhm.
the world. And somebody asked her, "What's your job?" And she said, "My job is to find out who's authentic."
Wow.
And that just
Wow.
came out of her mouth, right?
Yeah.
And I went, "That's it," because we call it the poop detector, where your poop detector goes off when somebody's not being authentic. And I'm
Mm.
saying being authentic, not doing authentic, because
Yeah.
there's a ton of
Yeah.
people doing authenticity, and you just kind of go, that detector just goes deet deet
Wow.
deet.
Wow.
So for reflect and connect and authenticity might be that magical
Mhm.
foundation for being able to truly uh, pursue that resilience that we were talking about, and stay in the course. You've got this message inside. It'll become clearer.
Yeah, that's real. I want people who are authentic. I'm trying to separate the people who are authentic. I think that's what we all want, right? A
Mhm.
connection. That's the thing that builds the connection to drive that conversation and to create transformation. Like all of those, yeah.
Yeah, there's a fella. He is a longtime friend of mine. His name is Egan, and Egan wanted to be paid to speak more. He wanted to get more business, and he came to me. He says, "How do I be funny?" And I went, "Egan, you're an accountant. You're not funny." Like, but you are passionate. And when he wanted to do authenticity with humor, right?
Hmm.
And but when he talked about compound interest, like his eyes would roll in the back of his head. He would start spitting, and he would go, compound compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. And do you have any idea how fast? And I said, it's that passion
Yeah.
that is his authenticity, not trying
Yeah.
to do anything specific. So his authenticity needed to come forward, rather, which was his passion for what he was passionate about.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's a pretty simple formula.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Be you. Be you at the end of the day.
yeah,
One more question I wanted to ask you before we end this
yeah,
conversation is,
yeah.
as speakers, we're given this platform to impact people's lives. How are you modeling your words in private?
Oh, yeah, that's called integrity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I have a saying: winning is a journey of integrity.
Yeah.
If you break that quote down, you're not winning if you're not in integrity.
Yeah.
And journey means it's a process. Like you're constantly in this process of doing, being, living, executing, delivering, serving. And so, that's easy for me. I mean, my message is about having impact and influence while having as much fun as humanly possible.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
I summarize that with a very simple question. I call it living in my question, which is how will I serve with love? Right?
Yeah.
It's not just others, it's myself. I mean, how will I serve with love? Well, is there ever an answer to that? No, but there's always the process of that. So when you reached out and said, would you help our tribe and would you help us understand paid to speak and all that, does that fit with how will I serve with love, or is that misaligned with that? And it was aligned. So I said, yes. I mean, we didn't meet until just
Yeah.
earlier.
Today. Yeah. I
Yeah,
respect.
yeah. And so that's fine. I mean, am I in integrity with that mission? And the answer is yes.
Mhm.
So that's just easy. And when I'm off stage, yeah, we hear stories about people that are, well, I even kind of referred to one, but
Yeah, yeah.
there's these moments where we can kind of find ourselves a little out of alignment, and I've
Yeah.
made mistakes. One guy came up to me prior to a speech. It was minutes before, and he just wanted to make conversation. He was just trying to be nice, and he said, "So what are you going to speak on?" And I went, "Wow, if you could wait like 10 minutes, you're going to hear it, right?" and and he was so offended, right?
Oh,
And he just went, "Well, never mind," and he just walked away. And I went, I was such an asshole, right? I didn't mean
the
to.
the humor is that
Uh,
Canadian humor.
yeah. Well, yeah. So I learned my lesson. So
That's all good. I think we all make mistakes, right? Like
yeah,
that's the human part of
condition.
us.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
we are all flawed, and even in our relationships, we're going to mess up. And
yeah.
that's okay. The thing is, as long as we're as long as we're pushing to get better, as long as you
Right.
become just an ounce more of who you're created to be or pushing to be, to have that clarity, as you said, to
Yeah,
to be that person, then forget the rest. Love that journey,
yeah.
and forgive yourself. Give yourself grace. And I think that's the thing that I've been trying to walk in is I'm not perfect, and even though I'm on this platform, even though I get paid to speak, is give yourself grace. Understand you're not perfect, and just continue to try to be the best version of yourself. If that
Mhm.
doesn't help anybody, like you guys understanding, like you don't have to be perfect to speak. There it is, right there. You don't.
Yeah, yeah. No, the more authentic you are, the more you're going to be vulnerable. The more you're going to mess up every once in a while. And
Yeah.
if you messed up, you kind of go, "Oh, wait, I said that completely wrong," and people go, "Ha ha
Yeah.
ha," and then you say what I meant to say, and then they won't let up because they kind of like they love seeing you
Connect to
squirm. But
that.
yeah, they
Yeah.
connect with authenticity. Of course they do.
So true. Vince, before we go, where can I try to find you?
VincePoscente.com will get you there. I think if you're seeing this video, my name should be somewhere on this. So the spelling of the last name is Poscente is Poscente. You reach out to me. I've got some books. I've got some learning tools. I've got most of it's free, and I just want to serve with love. So hopefully that was something we accomplished in this interview.